How is it hanging, everybody? I'm here to bring you another Rec Room tutorial. This time, I'm going to teach you how to make players bleed upon impact. This can be done with a gun like what I'm holding, or you can hook it up to a punch circuit, or honestly, anything that you want to deal damage, you can make bleed. But real quick before I get into that, if you're into content and you want more stuff like this, please subscribe, you'll see more of it, and we'll both be happy. Oh, and by bleeding, this is what I meant. And now you see why I'm not wearing any green. Alright, now we're in a nice naked maker room. I can get rid of this ugly outfit, and we're also going to get rid of these ugly buttons over here. Now I want to touch on the fact that this blood effect is just a bunch of paintball rounds flying out of something when it gets hit. So for step one, we want to back away from our streamer cam, and we want to get ourselves a projectile launcher from the watch. Like so. Theoretically, this launcher doesn't actually have to be shooting paint, it could be shooting lasers or corks, but paint is obviously the most blood-like. So make sure you configure your projectile launcher, change the color to really whatever blood color you want. If you want to go more realistic, I suggest garnet. And then you want to change the projectile type to paintball. You want there to be, I would recommend about, honestly, 14 to 16 of these. You want them going at the lowest possible speed with the highest possible lifetime and about this much spread. Then you want to turn on gravity, make sure that that is at full force, and turn off sound. To test our blood, I'm going to hook it up to a button real quick, and as you can see, it is exactly what we are looking for. Now we can delete that button, and for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a player bleed with a projectile launcher, but you can actually do this with, theoretically, anything that you want. Don't worry, I'll explain that very soon. Now, we are going to break out a gun handle for this. You can use a trigger handle, but you will need to use a few additional steps to get the direction that it is facing. Now think about it like this. When we fire this gun, we want a projectile to hit a player, or in this case a wall, because I'm alone, and we want to teleport the projectile launcher to their location whilst playing it at the exact same time to give the illusion that the projectile caused them to bleed. Now the first step in that is turning this from a gun handle into a gun. To do that, grab another projectile launcher and set it to, frankly, whatever you want. I recommend cork, because it's the most like a bullet. So now you're going to want to configure, and you want to set it to a cork. We want to send just one, pretty high speed, yada yada, some gravity, and we can turn on sound, it doesn't really matter. And when we fire the gun, we want to fire the projectile launcher in the direction that the gun is facing. Don't forget to hook up this projectile origin object to your projectile launcher. Now we have these two components separately. They're working beautifully, but we need to put them together. For that, you're going to want to grab yourselves a clamp. It should look like this. Connect the tip of the clamp to any extension of the base trigger handle, and then connect the base of the clamp to the trigger handle. Note, I'm an idiot. This will only work when the trigger handle is unfrozen. So you want to unfreeze your trigger handle, you want to drag the base of it here, and now, when I pick it up, the projectile launcher will follow. Of course, it's in the wrong position now, but I can adjust that in a second. Using that to our advantage, we are going to draw the little projectile launcher back where it's supposed to be. And now, as you can see, when we press the trigger, our beautiful little projectile hits it. Remember, this is a gun handle, so you do have to reload. It has an ammo count. Okay, great. We have a gun and we have blood. We just need to mush them together. In order to do that, you guys are going to need to get yourselves a few chips, most notably a raycast. The raycast looks like this, and it might be a little bit intimidating, but I've posted a tutorial for it already on my shorts page. For those of you that are lazy and don't want to go watch that video, a raycast is just a laser pointer that you can't physically see. The starting position is where the base of the laser pointer is, the direction is where it faces, and the max distance is how long the laser pointer is. These pins on the right side give you information about what the laser is in contact with. They tell you if it hits something, the player that it hits, the object that it hits, how far away the object or player is, the exact position of the hit, and I have no idea what this does. Okay, side note, surface normal is like if you punch something, it's the angle facing away from where you punched it. Either way, we don't need to worry about that for now. Either way, what we need is the place for the raycast to start, and for that, I'm going to choose the position of the projectile launcher. For that, we are going to need a get position chip. Drag the target of your get position chip to the projectile launcher and set the position to start position. For direction, set it to the firing direction on the gun handle. Now for max distance, you can set this to frankly whatever you would like, but I want my gun to have quite long distance, so we're going to go 50 meters. So now we are going to use the raycast to get the position of the object in front of us, and then use that position to know where to teleport our blood projectiles. Side note, you can configure your raycast and make it so that it ignores players or objects when talking about the hit bool. If it ignores players, then it will not count the raycast hitting a player as a hit. Ditto with the objects. Since I don't have friends, we're going to make it ignore players so that it doesn't acknowledge me. Now, in order to change the position of our projectile launcher, we're going to need something called a respawn chip, which looks like this. I'm not sure why these two pings went together, but don't do that. Now, our goal is to make it so that after the gun fires, it respawns the projectile launcher. But at the moment, we have no way of telling if the gun actually hits its target. It would just be rampantly teleporting the projectile launcher everywhere. That is where an if chip comes in. Set it so that after your projectile fires, it checks the condition of the hit on the raycast, and if it does in fact hit something, then it respawns. Perfect, so now it only respawns the projectile launcher if it hits something. We need to make sure we target this to the projectile launcher. Now the position and rotation are the important parts. These are the two pings that tell you where to spawn the projectile launcher when you hit something. It's important to note that the raycast already has a setting for hit position. You can simply drag that to position, and now it knows where to teleport it. But it doesn't know what way to make it face. Surface normal would make it so that when we hit the wall, the projectiles shoot out from the wall. There are many other ways to do the rotation tab. For bleeding, I like to actually make it so that you create a vector constantly facing down, so that no matter what you hit, it always fires downward, because that's realistic to how people would actually bleed. But because we are shooting walls, not people, I'm going to just use surface normal. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments. I will literally invite you to this room and explain everything personally. I want y'all to understand this. So great, it teleports the projectile launcher to the location that the gun hits, but we need to make sure that it still plays the animation of the blood. So we're going to take the output of our respawn chip and set it to fire forward. Alright, big reveal time. When you use the gun handle and shoot at something, it teleports the blood projectile launcher to the position of the shot, and then it faces away from the wall, because that's how we set it, like this. So check that out, we can make the wall bleed now. Ain't that cool? Now, real quick, we're gonna pretend I have friends in the room, and I'm gonna show you how to set this up for players bleeding. First, you're going to want to spawn in a vector component, and you're going to want to face it downwards, or whatever direction you would like the blood to shoot when you shoot somebody. Drag the yellow pin of this vector component to the rotation tab on your respawn. Now grab the player head position chip. We want to get the position of the player that we shoot with our raycast, which is right here. Now, I would recommend altering the spawn radius to, say, 1.2 so that it doesn't always spawn directly on the player's head. And bing bang boom, that's it. Every time this hits a player, it is going to teleport the little projectile launcher to their position and shoot it facing downwards. That's all there is to know about bleeding. And this may be the only thing I'm going to directly teach you today, but I want you to know there are many, many applications for this. The RCL man did a wonderful tutorial on a punching circuit. Basically, it detects when you hit someone with your fists and it shoots them and makes a cool sound, yada yada. With some CV2 technique, you can make it so that when you hit that person, there's either a chance of them spewing blood, or they just always do. All you need to do to change when the blood happens is changing the first executive point on your respawn and the point at which your projectile launcher fires forward. And that's all I've got to teach you for today. If anyone wants a personal explanation on how they can apply this in their rooms, give me your username in the comment section, invite me to your room whenever, and I will be so happy to help you understand. I hope everybody enjoyed the video, I hope you learned something brand new, and I hope you take the effort to learn CV2. I love all of you, I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care.